When it came to my dating life, I haven't been so lucky. I did have some random hookups here and there and very short-term relationships throughout my son's childhood. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, My son, a 22-year-old male, cut contact with me 4 years ago due to getting involved with his best friend. He contacted me 2 days ago and wants to meet this Friday. And guys, this story, like many others, is why I named the channel They Did What. It's about a mother who's writing her story and singing the blues because her son, at 18 years old, cut all contact with her, including her parents, because she was having a secret affair with his best friend, another 18-year-old. Yeah, mother of the year. And to make it worse, she has since married him, and they've had a kid together. And the boy, understandably, wants nothing to do with her. Well, now he's back, and she doesn't know why and wants to talk to her. And she's going to go through this whole story here, and literally in the first paragraph, you're going to see her say something to the effect of like, "Don't judge me," that type of line. And I'm doing this, guys, to show you just the world we live in, and the shit that happens. And you can all hear these stories and say, you know what, my life may be a pain in the ass, but you know what, it's even worse for somebody else. I've actually had people say that. But you can't make this stuff up. And it's just, I feel bad for this kid growing up and dealing with this whole thing. And I'm hoping that he'll be all right one day. But as a lesson, don't be like these freaking people. So it starts off, it says here, note, I understand that coming on this subreddit made me open to criticism. I know. I'll be judged, but I'm here to learn how to improve the situation. Between the lines, don't judge me. Lady, you're hooking up with your son's best friend. You're going to be judged. I had my son at the age of 21 years old. His father passed away 2 years later, so it was me and my son against the world. When it came to my dating life, I hadn't been so lucky. I did have some random hookups here and there and very short-term relationships throughout my son's childhood. So, if the only relationships she had were hookups, what does that tell you? Because it tells me, obviously, she was attracted to a certain type of guy. And those type of guys only wanted to have hookups. Now, granted, she was a single MOM, and I'm sure there were plenty of guys that knew darn well to avoid a single MOM. She probably had the red flags, and other ones that probably didn't know any better. But I have a hard time believing that she couldn't find some guys that would treat her well, as a lot of guys do with the single MOMs. So obviously, she wasn't interested in them, but just to hook it up. So this is already setting the stage for what's yet to come. In the beginning of my son's senior year, he brought a friend home. Let's call him Max. He was basically at our house every other weekend. I was really happy because my son doesn't have a lot of friends. Let's keep that in mind here. He usually keeps to himself. I really like Max as a person. He was a really sweet guy. We have had a nice short conversations whenever he was at our place. We exchanged numbers just in case. He would start sending me messages and jokes. I'd respond back. My son didn't mind at all. Your son was obviously oblivious to this. Now, if what she's saying is true, fine. His friend's hitting her up because he obviously is attracted to her. This is like a Stacy's mom type of situation here. But guess what? She's the mother, a grown-ass woman, an adult, and she needs to nip that in the bud right away. But instead, her cougar came out. After 4 months of coming to our house, Max texts me, and he wants to meet up for coffee out of nowhere. I texted him it was something urgent about my son. He responded by saying it's something important. I was curious, so I decided to meet up with him. Sure. When I met with him, he looked very nervous. I asked him what he was meeting about. He told me I can't tell my son about it. He then confessed to me that he was developing feelings for me. I was taken aback by this. I told him that while I was flattered, I had to think about my son. Okay, that's the right approach, Mom. But you also should have cut him off a while ago with the texting thing. But she was obviously enjoying the attention. And by the way, she mentioned that this is like her son's only friend. So, but this kid, obviously, if this is true, he's an asshole too. Let's be honest here. Bros before you know what, even if the HOE is the mom. He pleaded with me to give him a chance. It was so long that I found someone interested in me like that. Max was already 18 when he was introduced to me, and he was very handsome. I said yes, but with the condition that it would only be casual dating and my son doesn't have to know about it. What kind of freaking mother is going to do this, right? And gee, she wonders why that guys only saw her as a hookup type of person. Poor kid. We met up the next week at his place. I told my son I was going out with my friends. Well, we have all heard that line before. Girls' night. About an hour into our date, we slept with each other. Then we promised to meet up in the close future. Our meetups became very frequent, and as such, our relationship grew stronger. I was beginning to fall in love with Max. We learned more about each other. Max was becoming my main source of joy. I wanted the weekend to start early just to be with Max. It was hard for me to pay attention to anything else in my life. You are an irresponsible, self-centered jackass, lady. And I gotta wonder if this Max dude was only friends with the kid to get close to his mom. Looking back, it seems that my relationship with Max had a negative effect on my relationship with my son. You think? I had to come up with different excuses on why I wasn't around. I missed out at soccer games. I think I really messed up when I missed his birthday dinner because I was with Max. I told him that work held me up. She is an awful mother, awful person. And for my female audience that watches this, because generally speaking, my female audience are very conservative, traditional women, they'd be disgusted with this. It was a week before my son's flight to college that I got a text from Max and my son found out about us. I got in at the middle of work. I was scared to go back home. When my son arrived home, he never uttered a word about the situation. He just pretended that nothing ever happened. He seemed very cold to me. Never looked me in the eye and gave me one-word responses. When it came to dropping him off, he didn't even give me a hug or even look back at me when it was time for the flight to even wave goodbye. Oh, boo-hoo, lady. When I drove back home, Max's car was in my driveway. It was the first time I saw him ever since I got the text from him. I saw he had a black eye and a broken nose when I stepped out of the car. Hell yeah, her son kicked his ass. That guy deserved an ass kicking. We hugged each other tightly. I cried in his arms. Once we stepped into the house, I told him how bad I felt what I did to my son. Yeah, your actions really demonstrate just how bad you feel. Yet you somehow kept going back to good old Cradle Robin Max. The worst part, I wasn't sad my son was leaving, but relieved instead. Max comforted me in saying that he's just as much at fault for the situation. Max stayed that night. The next day he proposed to me and I accepted it. Smack to Max and, well, let's be honest, her too. It's been 4 years now. Max and I have a 2-year-old daughter. He works as a mechanic. The airport was the last time I saw my son. Yeah, and I can tell you care so much, lady. It's like she got married, had another kid, and forgot all about her son Max. This poor kid. But you know what? At least now he knows, and he can be done with her. But this type of stuff messes people up for life. It could be like a dad doing his daughter's BFF, you know? He's blocked me on everything. I asked his grandparents if he ever contacted them. His grandfather told me that my son has told them everything. He said he will take care of my son, but he told me to never contact my son or them again. Good job for the parents laying down the law with her. Good job. 2 days ago, I got a call from my son that he's going to be in town and he wants to meet up in person this Friday. I said yes. What should I do or say when I meet him? What should he do or say? You should pretty much be thankful that he actually wants to speak to you. But what he may want to talk about may not be what you're expecting or hoping. So you at least owe it to him. If he wants to meet, you meet. And you shut the fuck up and let him talk. And be responsible for once. But for God's sakes, you married his best friend. You were doing his best friend behind his back. Married him. Had a kid with him. Now for the update as to see what happens here. She says, I met up with my son after 4 years, no contact. For the few that gave me actual advice, I went to meet up with my son without Max or my daughter. It was at a local coffee shop. I found him sitting in one of the booths at one of the coffee shops. He was on his phone. I was really scared. A part of me wanted to tackle him with a hug and beg for his forgiveness. Another part of me wanted to leave before he even noticed me. I said his name to get his attention. He didn't even leave his seat. He just looked at me and said, hi. I asked if I could sit. I started asking about how he was doing. He said he was fine. I was about to apologize, but he interrupted me by saying, before you apologize, I want to understand how the relationship between between Max and you even started. So the young guy wants some answers. Sounds like he wants some closure before he can truly move on. He's probably been in a emotional roller coaster for 4 years now. I started telling him everything. When it came to mentioning my meetups, he interjected and started asking me questions that were difficult to answer. He asked, "So, all the times you were going out, you were lying to me about where you were going, weren't you?" I nodded. "What about the times I asked you to spend time with you? Did you lie to me so you could meet up with Max instead?" I started tearing up. It was hard being there. "Did you miss out on the events to be with Max? What about my birthday?" That's when I started crying. He told me to save my tears. Man, this kid's been RP'd at a young age, but not RP'd from other girls, but RP'd because of his mother. And I like the fact that she's like, I started tearing up. I started crying. Of course, the last line of defense. He said he figured that out as soon as he figured. Okay, he said he figured that out soon after he learned about the relationship with Max. He just wanted to hear it from me. He then asked if I was still with Max. I told him I was married to him and I have a daughter with him. He seemed to need a minute to process that. You think that you married his best friend and had a daughter with a best friend and he has a little sister in your fucked up relationship? Yeah, I think he deserves a minute to take all this shit in. Then he started speaking. He told me he never had an issue with me dating or meeting someone. In fact, he hoped I would found love. He understands I need companionship and any type of love he couldn't offer as my son. He told me throughout all these years he felt conflicted because both Max and I were both consulting adults, and adults have a right to find happiness. Still, Max was 18, his friend, they were both in high school. So, no. My son admitted he shouldn't, and Max, she messed up the sentence here. My son admitted he shouldn't, Max, and was glad he didn't press charges. I guess he's admitting he shouldn't have kicked his ass, but bullshit. He had a right to kick Max's ass. He said despite of all that, there were some things that he couldn't get over. He told me that he can't get over the fact that I didn't take him into consideration when it came to pursuing the relationship. This is probably when she's going to be crying again. It was also hurtful to realize that I would value a romantic relationship to the point of being willing to throw away a close relationship with him for it. Right. If I had the attitude of being done raising him and finally pursue my own life, then that's valid, but according to him. However, I'd have no right to want to have a close relationship with him in return. Again, that's what he said he believes. He told me he wouldn't have forgotten me when he left for college. He would have wanted me to move close to him after he got a job, and if he couldn't move close to me. In this ideal world, we would live close by so we would get to see each other even after he had a family. So he wanted good things for his mom. He wanted her to find someone. He just didn't want her to find his best friend and do all that behind his back. He said he loves himself and his life too much to have me back in my life. My son says he works as a mechanical engineer now. He is engaged to the love of his life. He was also raised by a single mom just like him until she was 16 when her stepdad entered the picture. Both of them have welcomed him into their family. He told me his future in-laws and his fiancée are his family now, and he was getting a job near them. Well, I'm glad this kid found a gal that he's very happy with and is good to him, and her family has taken him in with open arms. That's awesome. I hope it stays that way. He finally admitted that he just wanted closure before permanently cutting me off. Oh boy, here we go. Niagara Falls. He told me not to contact him or his family at all. He made it clear he wouldn't be there for me at my last stage of life or even come to my funeral. Whoa! Ouch. He made it clear that he wouldn't even hold my hand when I passed away. I won't have the privilege of knowing his fiancée or his future kids. He made it clear that his half-sister ever contacts him as an adult, he'll be upfront on why he doesn't want a relationship with her. He said goodbye to me and left. I cried so hard that I got the attention of people in the coffee shop. I was crying on the way back home. Of course she was. She was a grown-ass adult and made her choice, and she has to live with it. That's what being accountable is. Accountable for your actions. She threw her son away for some easy dick. Let's be honest here. Some young, easy dick. And then, and married him, had a kid with him and all that. I don't even know how therapy can even help. I never felt so much emotional pain in my life. What do I do now? What do you do now? You accept your actions. You made your bed, you lie in it. Your son wants nothing to do with you, leave him the hell alone. If there's anything you can do for your son after what you've done to him, is leave him alone. That's the best way you can thank him. Maybe, just maybe, in 20 freaking years, he might reach out to you or something like that. Who knows? But as far as I'm concerned, you walk away and let him live his life. That's the best thing you can do given how much things have gotten screwed up. End of story. And then hopefully you raise your daughter well enough that if your daughter one day has a boyfriend, and when your daughter is 18 years old and your daughter has a boyfriend who's 18, you're not going to try to fuck your daughter's boyfriend. Okay? When you're like, I don't know, 60 years old. But for goodness sake. But like I told you guys, you can't make this shit up. Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. So that's what it is. You're going to have to deal with the consequences. End of freaking story. Now, some comments, because they're always fun. One guy says here, your son is way more mature than you. And I suspect from the way you write, probably was forced to mature faster than his peers because of you. Go to therapy. You desperately need it. Don't make any more similar mistakes and try to be a better mom to your daughter than you were to your son. I hope for your sake and your daughter's sake that this relationship with Max works out as well. I can't understand why you would choose to sacrifice a mother-son relationship for someone who is less than half your age, but you made your choice. Please make better ones going forward. Exactly. But she doesn't exactly have a good reputation for making very good decisions. Leave your son be. He might change his mind in the future. He might not. What he chooses to do is totally up to him, and I would say he has every right to cut you out as long as he feels like it, even if it is forever. Another guy says here, there's something so terrifying about risking all your relationships be with an 18-year-old boy. OP ruined her relationship with her only family for a boy whose hormones haven't even settled yet. People focus on so much on age of consent, but she had a child with a boy who can't even legally drink. He was a child living under his parents' roof when they met. Anyway, I'm wondering about his parents, their opinion on this whole thing. He's likely never had to deal with any real consequences until just recently. If things ever get hard, he'll probably just leave. He'll probably get older, freak out, find a hot young girl, and run off with her. That's what's going to happen. This is a boy who made a move on his friend's mom. Why OP would trust him enough to have a child with him, I'll never understand. Well, obviously, she's not exactly very good at choosing men. All right, one more. It says here, what did you do? You live with the consequences of your disgusting actions. He was legal, yes, but it was still a disgusting action. Think if it had been a woman your age with your 18-year-old child. You wouldn't be happy about that, would you? You made your bed, now you have to lie in it. Simple. Consequences of your actions. It is also called grooming those actions. So there you go, guys. Can't make this stuff up. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. By all means, comment. We'll have all the Stacy's mom jokes going across the... That'll be the #1 comment. Guaranteed. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.